joining us now, Craig Shirley. Of course, Craig's new book, The Last Act, will be out in just a few weeks. Cannot wait. And just one of the great writers, thinkers, biographers. He wrote a really hot piece on LifeZet, Echoes of Reagan and Trump, was one of our top performing pieces on LifeZet last week. Remember to go to lifezet.com. And everything from the clothing wars with your teens, getting them out the door to school in the morning, to getting ready for the Pope's visit and the nuns working overtime and what this all means. And Keith Koffler has some great new pieces up as well on Polizet, so make sure to go to lifezet.com. Craig Shirley joins us now. Craig, great to talk to you. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Although the rumor is Hugh Hewitt is going to ask the Republican candidates about early Renaissance sketchings, in their opinion.
Yeah, the hieroglyphs. Are you familiar with the earliest hieroglyphs in Palmyra that were just destroyed?
Right.
So,
do you prefer Renaissance or Enlightenment writers?
Yeah, exactly. So first of all, we're going to get to this new ad that was I guess it just aired from the National Federation or Forum on Immigration Fund or some organization that apparently wants us to have more immigration and, probably amnesty, et cetera, et cetera. But they did an ad where they were trying to, I guess, make Trump look like he's the anti-Reagan. And you do have to kind of see the visual, but the audio is pretty good, too. So let's listen.
I've spoken of the shining city all my political life. God blessed and teeming with people of all kinds, living in harmony and peace.
They're bringing crime. They're rapists. If I'm elected, they're going to be out of there day one.
Do you think that birthright citizenship should be ended?
Yeah, absolutely.
I said we should end birthright citizenship.
I will build a great, great wall.
In my mind, it was a tall, proud city built on rocks stronger than oceans. And if there had to be city walls, the walls had doors, and the doors were open to anyone with the will and the heart to get here. That's how I saw it and see it still.
So, Craig, how will this work? I mean, I'm listening to it thinking this helps Trump.
First of all, why is it liberals only use Reagan when Reagan is useful to bash conservatives? They don't cite Reagan as an anti-communist or the great political leader or pro-life leader or anything else. They only use Reagan, and they always parse his words in order to attack the right. You hear the establishment say, "Well, Reagan couldn't be elected today." Well, it'd probably be a little bit difficult. He'd be 104 years old, so it's got to be taken with a grain of salt. Number one. Number two is that when he spoke of a revolution without borders, when he spoke of the shining city on the hill, it was not to open the floodgates to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. He didn't believe in economic immigration. He believed in political immigration. For people who came here from Cuba and Nicaragua and Warsaw Pacts and Russia and China and other countries to escape political persecution. We all believe in that, but not opening up the floodgates. Is that, and the way that comes off too is that it makes Reagan sound like he's for crime, like Trump is against crime, but Reagan is for crime. No, he wasn't. There was a famous, or actually not so famous, debate in Houston in 1980 during the Republican primaries, and the last two candidates standing were George Bush and Ronald Reagan. And you look at the transcript of that, Reagan came down very, very hard line on illegal immigration, very for secure borders. So the idea that he was for open borders is just ridiculous.
So the Action Fund's ad will screen nationally all week. So this pro-immigration group, which counts Jeb's son, Jeb Bush Jr., as one of its directors.
Yeah.
Aha. Putting together all the pieces here in the Laura Ingraham show. Well, let's play one soundbite though. See, because they edited that Trump soundbite to make it look like he has no flexibility for any immigration at all, but the full soundbite sounds more like this.
I want people to come into our country legally. I want to have a big, fat, beautiful, open door.
Oh, yeah, he actually said that I want to have a big wall with a big door that people can be able to come through. So that actually sounds a little bit like Reagan. Like he wants a door and people are going to be able to come through legally.
Well, think about this, too, is that, first of all, everything that Reagan did during his presidency has to be judged in the shadow of the Cold War. He wasn't going to hand Gorbachev a big PR bonanza by forcibly evicting 300,000 illegal immigrants here. On the other hand, is that his foreign policy was marked by working with indigenous political forces, the Mujahideen, the Solidarity, the Velvet Revolution, the Contras, because he wanted them invested in their own country, because he wanted them to rebuild their own country and then stay in their own country. He didn't want that. He didn't say, come here, Mujahideen, come here, Nicaraguan Contras, come here, he said, come here from the Czech Republic. He said, fix your own problems. I will help you fix your problems, but stay in your own country.
We had conversations over the weekend, a bunch of us who were going out, and we had fun, and some people were political, but most of them aren't. And we were wondering, like, what do you say to someone like a Kasich, who I guess a lot of people think could be the guy that thinks like Bush, whose last name isn't like Bush, who would be a compromise candidate for the establishment? He came out over the weekend basically agreeing with Obama's plan to bring in 10,000 of these refugees. This after the Wall Street Journal completely exposed that only about 10% of the people flooding into Germany are actual Syrians. But, I mean, I think all of this talk of immigration and bringing people into the country, and I think this all ends up helping Trump, because he's the one who's saying, whoa, focus on America and rebuilding this country, which, to me, it seems like that's where most people are.
Well, it does beg the question. If you open the floodgates from Syria or from Mexico or Guatemala, who's left there in that country to take care of that country and rebuild it? There is something to be said for, as Reagan said, revolution without borders and spreading the ideas of free market economics and democracy movements around the world, so that everybody does have secure borders. He talked often about secure borders. He talked often about American citizenship being a prized possession. And these are things are not to be taken lightly.
A good question for GOP candidates, I would think, but I don't think this will probably be asked, but it would be. Are there any issues where you oppose the Chamber of Commerce? I'd love that question asked. I think they would wet themselves. I think that most of these candidates would wet themselves. I don't think they would know what to say.
I think that's a terrific idea. I don't know if it's going to be asked, but it's a terrific idea.
And then do you think that the pile on Trump strategy will or could work on Wednesday? They're obviously they have to try to take him down. I mean, he's 40% in New Hampshire right now. But he's not a conventional candidate.
Well, if they try hard enough, maybe they can get him to 50% by next week. Every time somebody attacks him, now it's old hat, it's conventional wisdom. But there is something to him drawing energy and sustenance and strength. I think that there's two things. One is he's talking about big issues. He's talking about America. Nobody else is talking about America. Nobody's talking about the future, and nobody's talking about how to improve this country. I think, too, is that it's as much cultural as it is ideological. They perceive that the New York-Washington complex is horribly out of touch with them, that has contempt for them, and really the only candidate who's speaking right now loud and clear to them in a cultural setting is Donald Trump.
There was an event, I guess, over the last couple of days in Miami where Jeb Bush opened his shirt, started unbuttoning his shirt, and people were thinking, whoa, is this some kind of bushy striptease? Like, what's going on here? Wow, Jeb, I didn't know you had it in you. And then underneath the dress shirt, he revealed, like Superman, a Reagan Bush 84 shirt that all of us had. Of course, the iconic shirt. It's like, look what I found in the attic or something like this. Yeah. And he said, I believe in the Reagan Bush foreign policy where the Soviets were kept at bay. I'm paraphrasing, but he just really gave the big feverino to the Reagan Bush years. Of course, you know better than I. You wrote the biography, but Reagan won in a landslide, and he won every state except Minnesota, and he lost the District of Columbia.
Well, comparing, Reagan chose Bush because it was a political accommodation, not because he liked him. And we know what happened with Bush. Reagan, I was thinking about before coming on the show about Reagan and debates and the upcoming debate. He only lost 2 debates in his life, and he debated anybody and everybody, as you said previously. The only time he ever lost a debate was to Bush in Houston, ironically, in 1980 when he was coasting. And he wasn't at his best when he was coasting. He was his best when he was competitive and fierce and somewhat angry, is when he did his best job. And then when he lost the first debate to Walter Mondale in 1984. Other than that, he beat Bobby Kennedy, he beat Jimmy Carter, he beat Richard Nixon, he beat all comers when it came to debating.
What did you get in the way of a reaction to the piece you wrote about echoes of Reagan and Trump on Life's That?
It was almost all favorable. Is that they saw that they understand that there's differences and similarities, and they understand there's also a difference between 1980 and 2015. That issues are changing, people are changing, but there are guidelines still that you can follow that are instructive.
And on the issue of immigration, Trump leads Hillary 73-14. Craig, what does that tell you about what we've heard about how immigration is, demographics are destiny, that if Republicans don't do the Jeb Bush dance on this, and they're destined to lose.
Hillary's 14% are probably her house servants. So you got to discount
the people who've worked for the Clintons over the years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Well, no, they're on the other side.
Oh, okay, right, exactly. So that could continue to be an issue that he uses to broaden his appeal against all this attack.
I think it is the issue. I think, like I said before, I think it's cultural, and it cuts across party lines, so that it could bring in, whatever's left of the Reagan Democrats or the conservative Democrats into a new Trump coalition for 2016.
And he leads among independents as well against Hillary. Yeah. We really appreciate it. Craig Shirley here on the Laura Ingraham Show. Craig, I'll see you at the Reagan Library.
You bet.
All right, we'll go hang out on Reagan's old Air Force One.